I was sitting on the deck of my aunt's beach house. Well, the beach house my aunt thought belonged to her, watching the sunset paint the Oregon coast in shades of gold and pink. Behind me, through the open sliding glass door, I could hear my cousin Emma holding court in the living room. "She belongs in a trailer park," Emma said, her voice dripping with contempt. "Not in this neighborhood." Someone laughed. My Aunt Linda probably. Or maybe Uncle Greg. "I mean, look at her car. Look at her clothes. She's literally trailer trash trying to pretend she belongs here." I took a sip of my wine and continued watching the waves. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael Chin, my property manager. "At the gate. Ready." I responded, "Come on up." 2 minutes later, a silver Tesla pulled into the driveway. Michael stepped out, professional in his navy suit despite it being Saturday afternoon. He walked across the deck and extended his hand. "Miss Anderson. Beautiful evening." "It is." I shook his hand. "Thanks for coming on a weekend." "Of course." He pulled out a tablet. "So we need to discuss the lease renewal for this property. The current tenant's 3-year lease expires in 30 days. Inside, the conversation had stopped. I could feel everyone's attention shifting toward us. Michael's voice carried clearly through the open door. "Ms. Anderson, your family's lease is up for renewal. Given the complaints from neighbors about noise violations and the late rent payments over the past year, I need to know, would you like them to stay?" The sound of glass shattering came from inside. Someone's drink, probably. "Their vacation plans collapsed in that moment," I said quietly. Michael nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I imagine they did. My name is Tegan Anderson. I'm 34 years old and I grew up being told I was worthless. Not in those exact words. My family was too sophisticated for that. Instead, they used phrases like different paths, more practical expectations, and not everyone can be exceptional. I was the daughter of my mother's younger sister, Karen. My mom died when I was 7. Sudden aneurysm, no warning, no goodbye. Dad couldn't handle being a single parent. He was destroyed by grief. So I went to live with Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg. They had 3 kids of their own. Emma, who was 2 years older than me, Chase, who was my age, and little Sophie, who was 4 years younger. Their house in Portland was huge. 5 bedrooms, manicured lawn, the works. They had money. Old family money from Uncle Greg's side, plus Aunt Linda's income as a commercial real estate broker. I should have been grateful. And I was. But gratitude doesn't erase the constant reminder that you don't really belong. The first memory that defined my place in their family happened when I was 9 years old. It was Emma's 11th birthday party. Huge event at a fancy hotel ballroom. 75 guests. A candy buffet. Emma wore a custom dress that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I was excited because Aunt Linda had promised I could invite 2 friends from school. "We'll make sure you're included," she'd said. "It's a family celebration." But when we arrived at the party, my 2 friends, Jasmine and Riley, weren't on the guest list. "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry," Aunt Linda said, not sounding sorry at all. "There must have been a miscommunication. Emma's party is for her friends. You understand. But you said I could invite." "Tegan, don't make a scene. You can still enjoy the party. Just try to blend in with Emma's friends." I spent 3 hours at that party watching Emma open presents, cut cake, and dance with her friends while I sat alone at a table in the corner. No one talked to me. Emma's friends were all from private school, a world I wasn't part of. When we got home that night, I heard Aunt Linda talking to Uncle Greg in the kitchen. "I can't treat her exactly the same as our kids, Greg. People would notice. Besides, she needs to understand her situation. We're being generous taking her in. She can't expect everything Emma gets." I was 9 years old and I learned that generosity came with conditions. The second defining memory was from when I was 14. Emma was 16 and getting her driver's license. Uncle Greg bought her a car, a brand new Honda CR-V, metallic blue. Leather seats. The works. Cost about $28,000. I'd been saving my babysitting money for 2 years. I had $847 in a savings account. I was so proud of that number. At dinner the night Emma got her car, I mentioned that I was saving up to buy a used car when I turned 16. A car. Aunt Linda looked at me like I'd suggested buying a yacht. "Tegan, honey, you don't need a car. You can take the bus. Emma has a car. Emma is our daughter." She has responsibilities, activities, places to be. I have activities too. I work at the library and I babysit and the bus runs perfectly fine routes to all those places. Uncle Greg's tone ended the conversation. Besides, cars are expensive. Insurance, gas, maintenance. Do you have money for all that? I'm saving. $800 isn't going to buy you a safe car, sweetheart. Be realistic. Emma smirked from across the table. Maybe you could get one of those bikes with the basket on the front. That seems more your speed. Chase and Sophie laughed. Aunt Linda didn't correct them. I never mentioned wanting a car again. I took the bus everywhere until I left for college. The third memory, the one that changed everything, happened when I was 18. I'd been accepted to Oregon State University with a partial scholarship. It covered about 60% of tuition. I needed to figure out the rest through loans and work study. Emma had gone to UCLA the previous year. Full tuition paid by Uncle Greg and Aunt Linda. Apartment in Westwood. Monthly allowance. The works. Total annual cost about $65,000. I went to Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg with my college financial aid package. I got the scholarship, I said, trying to keep my voice hopeful. And I can work part-time. But I still need about $12,000 for the first year. I was hoping, maybe you could help? I'll pay you back after graduation. Every penny. Uncle Greg didn't even look up from his newspaper. Tegan, we've provided you with a home, food, and stability for 11 years. We've done more than anyone could expect. College is your responsibility now. But Emma is our biological daughter. Aunt Linda's voice was sharp. We have obligations to her that we simply don't have to you. You have to understand that. I'm family too. You're our niece. It's different. I took out $48,000 in student loans. Worked 30 hours a week while taking a full course load. Graduated in 4 years with a degree in business and computer science. Never asked them for anything again. And I started building something they'd never see coming. My junior year, I took a class on web development. I was good at it. Really good. I started freelancing, building websites for small businesses, doing basic app development, creating e-commerce platforms. By the time I graduated, I was making $4,000 a month freelancing. It wasn't a fortune, but it was mine. After graduation, I moved to Seattle. Rented a tiny studio apartment. Kept freelancing. Built my client base. Within 2 years, I was making $120,000 annually. Then I started investing. Real estate crowdfunding first. Small investments in commercial properties. $1,000 here, $5,000 there. Learning the market. Understanding how property values worked. At 25, I bought my first property. A duplex in Tacoma. $240,000. I put down 20%, $48,000, every penny I'd saved, rented out both units and watched the mortgage pay itself. That's when I understood the game. Over the next 9 years, I built a portfolio. Started with small residential properties. Moved to small commercial buildings. Then larger ones. I incorporated as Anderson Property Holdings, kept my name off public documents as much as possible, and reinvested every dollar of profit. My freelancing work evolved into running a digital consulting firm, Cascade Digital Solutions. We specialized in e-commerce platforms for mid-size retailers. I had a team of 17 contractors, annual revenue of $8.7 million, and my personal take-home was approximately $3.2 million per year. But the real wealth was in real estate. Anderson Property Holdings now owned 43 properties across Oregon and Washington. Total portfolio value, approximately $180 million. My equity position after mortgages, approximately $73 million. Most of the properties were residential, apartment complexes, duplexes, single-family rentals. But I had 7 commercial properties and 3 vacation rentals. One of those vacation rentals was a beach house in Cannon Beach, Oregon. A beautiful 4-bedroom house right on the sand. Ocean views from every window. High-end finishes. Worth approximately $2.8 million. I'd purchased it 3 years ago through my LC. The previous owners, a retired couple, had been asking $2.6 million. I'd offered $2.5 million cash, closed in 21 days. And then I'd done something petty. Something I'm not entirely proud of but also don't regret. I'd called my Aunt Linda, who worked as a commercial real estate broker but also handled high-end residential leases, and told her I was looking for tenants for a beach property I was managing. For a client, I'd said. Anonymous investor. Very wealthy. Looking for long-term tenants who'll take care of the property. Linda had been immediately interested. What kind of property? 4-bedroom beach house. Cannon Beach. Right on the sand. Asking $4,800 per month for a 3-year lease. Her breath caught. Cannon Beach. That's where we've been looking. Greg and I have been dreaming of a beach house. Would you be interested? Absolutely. Can we see it? I'd arranged the showing. Used Michael Chin, my property manager, to handle everything. Linda never knew I was the owner. They'd signed a 3-year lease. Paid first month, last month, and security deposit. Moved in a month later. For 3 years they'd spent every summer at their beach house. Posted photos on Facebook. Bragged to their friends. Hosted family gatherings. Acted like they owned the place. They had no idea they were paying rent to me. And now, 3 years later, their lease was up for renewal. The text from Aunt Linda arrived on a Wednesday afternoon. Family beach weekend. June 15th to 17th. Everyone's coming. You should come too, I guess. Bring a sleeping bag. Bedrooms are full. I stared at the message for a long moment. Bring a sleeping bag. Like I was an afterthought. Like there was no room for me in a 4-bedroom house. I almost declined. But something made me say yes. Maybe curiosity about whether anything had changed. Maybe the desire to see them in the house I owned, not knowing who I'd become. Maybe I just wanted to see how far their cruelty would go. I drove down from Seattle on Friday afternoon. 4.5 hours of beautiful Pacific Northwest scenery. I'd made this drive dozens of times. Checking on properties in Portland, meeting with contractors, visiting other beach rentals I owned. But this was different. This was personal. I arrived at the beach house at 6 p.m. The property looked exactly how I'd envisioned it when I purchased it. Beautifully maintained, landscaping perfect, the deck furniture weathered by salt air in a way that added character. My property manager, Michael Chin, sent monthly reports. The house was in excellent condition. My aunt and uncle paid on time, mostly. They'd been late 3 times in the past year, which was noted in their tenant file. I parked on the street. My 7-year-old Subaru Outback looked modest next to Emma's new Mercedes SUV and Chase's Tesla, and grabbed my bag. Inside, the house was full of people. Emma was in the kitchen with her husband, Derek. Chase was on the deck with his girlfriend, Brittany. Sophie was setting up board games in the living room. Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg were overseeing everything like gracious hosts. Tegan. Aunt Linda air-kissed near my cheek. You made it. We weren't sure you'd come. Thanks for inviting me. Of course. Your family. The words sounded automatic. Practiced. Listen, all the bedrooms are taken. Emma and Derek have the master, Chase and Brittany have the 2nd bedroom, Sophie has the 3rd, and Greg and I have the 4th. But there's a really comfortable couch in the den. Or you could use a sleeping bag on the floor in Sophie's room. The couch is fine. Perfect. She was already turning away. Dinner's at 7. We're doing crab. Derek caught them this morning. Isn't that amazing? I put my bag on the couch in the den and walked back out to the deck. The view was stunning. Haystack Rock in the distance, waves crashing on the beach, seagulls circling overhead. This house had cost me $2.5 million. I'd put another $180,000 into upgrades. New deck, updated kitchen appliances, renovated master bathroom. My family was living in luxury I'd provided, and they'd just assigned me to a couch. The irony wasn't lost on me. Dinner was exactly what I'd expected. Emma dominated the conversation, talking about her interior design business, which I happened to know was barely breaking even based on public records I'd reviewed. Chase discussed his marketing job at a startup, entry-level position despite being 34. Sophie talked about her yoga instructor certification. No one asked about my life. Not once. After dinner we moved to the deck. Someone opened wine. The sunset was spectacular. That's when Emma started. You know what I love about this neighborhood? She said, gesturing with her wine glass. The quality of people. Everyone here has class. Standards. It's a special place, Derek agreed. He worked in pharmaceutical sales and never missed an opportunity to remind everyone that he did well. We were thinking of buying a beach house, Emma continued. But this rental is perfect. The owner is some wealthy investor who doesn't even live here. We get all the benefits without the maintenance hassles. Smart, Chase said. Real estate is so overrated as an investment anyway. Too much tied-up capital. I bit back a smile. My real estate portfolio had returned an average of 23% annually over the past 7 years. But sure, Chase, overrated. The only problem, Emma said, lowering her voice conspiratorially, is you have to be careful about who you let into these neighborhoods. Property values can be affected by the wrong element. What do you mean? Sophie asked. Oh, you know. Emma waved her hand vaguely. People who don't fit. Who don't understand the culture. Who bring down the atmosphere. She glanced at me. Just a quick look, but I saw it. Like who? I asked quietly. Well. Emma smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Like people who drive beat-up cars and wear Target clothes to a beach house weekend. People who think they belong in places like this when they clearly don't. The deck went quiet. Emma, Aunt Linda said, but her tone was gentle. Amused even. Like she was saying behave to a toddler making a mess, not stopping actual cruelty. I'm just saying, Emma continued, emboldened by her mother's non-response. She belongs in a trailer park. Not in this neighborhood. Several people laughed. Uncle Greg. Dirk. Even Chase chuckled. I mean, look at her car. Look at her clothes. She's literally trailer trash trying to pretend she belongs here. More laughter. I took a sip of my wine. Watched the waves. Let the words wash over me like water. Because in my pocket my phone was buzzing. A text from Michael Chin. Ready when you are. I'd asked Michael to come to the house this weekend. Told him we needed to discuss the lease renewal. That I wanted it done in person in front of my family. He thought I was joking at first. You want me to reveal that you own the property? To your own family? While they're actively staying there? Yes. That's bold. They called me trailer trash, Michael. For 30 years. I think it's time for some truth. I texted back, give me 10 more minutes. Then come up. What my family didn't know, what nobody except my lawyers, my accountant, Michael, and my business partners knew, was exactly how successful I'd become. Anderson Property Holdings' portfolio had grown systematically over 9 years. Years 1 to 3, ages 25 to 28, small residential properties. 4 duplexes, 2 small apartment buildings. Total value $3.2 million. My equity, approximately $640,000. Years 4 to 6, ages 29 to 31, medium residential and first commercial properties. Expanded to 12 residential properties, bought first 2 commercial buildings. Total portfolio value, $28 million. My equity, approximately $7.8 million. Years 7 to 9, ages 32 to 34, major expansion. Raised capital from private investors, leveraged equity for larger acquisitions. Portfolio grew to 43 properties including vacation rentals and premium commercial real estate. Total value, $180 million. My equity, $73 million. The beach house was property number 31. Purchase price $2.5 million. Current value after improvements, $2.8 million. Mortgage, $1.6 million at 3.8% interest. Monthly payment including property taxes and insurance, $9,200. I charged my aunt and uncle $4,800 per month. Below market rate, actually. Comparable beach houses in Cannon Beach rented for $6,500 to $8,000 monthly. I'd given them a deal. And they'd been late on rent 3 times. Complained about maintenance requests. And now were calling me trailer trash in the house I owned. My consulting firm, Cascade Digital Solutions, was separate from the real estate portfolio but equally successful. 17 contractors working on e-commerce platforms for mid-size retailers. Annual revenue, $8.7 million. After contractor payments, overhead and taxes, I personally cleared about $3.2 million annually. Combined with real estate income, approximately $4.1 million annually after mortgage payments and expenses, and appreciation on my properties, My total annual earnings were approximately $7.3 million. My net worth, conservatively calculated, $81 million. $73 million in real estate equity, $8 million in liquid assets and business value. I was 34 years old and wealthier than my aunt and uncle would ever be. And they just called me trailer trash. I pulled out my phone and checked my email. Quarterly reports from my CFO. Property inspection schedules. A refinancing offer on one of my Seattle apartment buildings that could lower my interest rate by 0.7%, saving approximately $84,000 annually. Just another Saturday evening managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio. On the deck, Emma was still talking. I'm serious though. Cannon Beach has standards. There are people who belong here and people who don't. You can always tell. How can you tell? I asked, keeping my voice mild. She looked at me like the answer was obvious. Success. Money. Education. Sophistication. All the things that separate people who've made it from people who haven't. Interesting definition. It's not a definition. It's just reality. She turned to her husband. Derek, didn't you say your firm just hired someone with a Harvard MBA? That's the kind of person who belongs in neighborhoods like this. Actually, I said quietly, I have an MBA from Oregon State. Does that count? Emma laughed. Oregon State isn't Harvard, sweetie. And you got yours online, didn't you? While working. Yes. I worked full-time while getting my MBA. Graduated with a 3.9 GPA. That's nice. Her tone made it clear she didn't think it was nice at all. But there's a difference between online degrees and real education. My phone buzzed. Michael, at the gate. I stood up. Excuse me. I need to take a call. I walked to the front of the house just as Michael's Tesla pulled into the driveway. He stepped out, professional as always despite it being a Saturday evening. Ms. Anderson. He shook my hand formally. Michael. Thanks for coming. Of course. He pulled out his tablet. Should we do this here or inside? The deck. That's where everyone is. Are you sure about this? Very sure. We walked through the house together. I could see my aunt's eyes widen slightly when she saw a man in a suit following me. Confusion crossed her face. Michael and I stepped onto the deck. The conversation stopped immediately. Everyone, I said calmly, this is Michael Chin. He's the property manager for Anderson Property Holdings. Michael nodded professionally. Good evening. I'm sorry, Aunt Linda said, standing up with her hostess smile in place. Is there a problem with the house? Something we need to address? Not a problem, ma'am. Just a lease matter that needs discussion. Oh. She looked confused. I handle lease negotiations through email. With the owner's representatives. There was no need to come in person. The owner requested I handle this in person, Michael said. He looked at his tablet. The current lease for this property expires in 30 days. Standard 3-year term. The owner needs to make a decision about renewal. Well, of course we want to renew, Uncle Greg said, standing up. We've been excellent tenants. We love this house. Tell the owner we'll sign another 3-year lease immediately. I appreciate that, sir. However, there are some concerns that need to be addressed. Concerns. Aunt Linda's voice sharpened. What concerns? Michael pulled up documents on his tablet. 3 late rent payments in the past 12 months. Several neighbor complaints about noise. Specifically, parties exceeding the quiet hours outlined in your lease. And the property owner has received feedback about, let's call it, attitude toward other community members. Emma's face flushed red. What? Who complained about us? I'm not at liberty to share specifics. But the owner is concerned about whether you're the right long-term fit for this property. This is ridiculous, Derek said. We pay good money for this house. We have rights. You have a lease that expires in 30 days, Michael said calmly. After that, you have no rights to this property unless the owner chooses to renew. The deck had gone very quiet. Aunt Linda tried to recover. Surely we can work this out. We've been here 3 years. We've taken excellent care of the property. Tell the owner. What's his name? I'll call him directly. Her name, Michael corrected. And she's right here. He turned to me. Ms. Anderson, your family's lease is up for renewal. Given the late payments and neighbor complaints, I need your decision. Would you like them to stay? The wine glass slipped from Emma's hand and shattered on the deck. Red wine spread across the wooden planks like blood. Aunt Linda's face went completely white. She opened her mouth but no sound came out. Uncle Greg's expression cycled through confusion, disbelief and finally horrified understanding. What did he just say? Chase dropped his beer bottle. It didn't break, just rolled across the deck, foam spilling out. I'm sorry, Emma finally managed, her voice strangled. Did he just call you Ms. Anderson? Like, the owner? Michael pulled up another document on his tablet. Ms. Tegan Anderson, principal owner of Anderson Property Holdings, LLC. Purchased this property at 47 Ocean View Drive, Cannon Beach, Oregon on March 12, 3 years ago. Purchase price, $2.5 million. Subsequent capital improvements, $180,000. Current estimated value, $2.8 million. That's impossible, Derek said. But his voice lacked conviction. I have the deed right here. Michael showed them his tablet. Recorded with Clatsop County. Public record. Ms. Anderson owns this property outright. Well, she has a mortgage, but the equity position is entirely hers. Tegan. Aunt Linda's voice was barely a whisper. You own this house? Yes. I kept my voice calm. I've owned it for 3 years. Since before you moved in. But. Uncle Greg was shaking his head. How? You're a web designer. You don't have this kind of money. I run a digital consulting firm. Cascade Digital Solutions. Annual revenue approximately $8.7 million. I personally clear about $3.2 million per year. The silence was deafening. But that's. Chase couldn't finish the sentence. And Anderson Property Holdings, Michael added helpfully, owns 43 properties across Oregon and Washington. Total portfolio value approximately $180 million. Ms. Anderson's equity position is approximately $73 million. Emma made a choking sound. $73 million. That's a conservative estimate, I said. Property values fluctuate. But yes, approximately. Sophie's face had gone pale. She looked at me like she'd never seen me before. You're a millionaire? Yes. How? Aunt Linda finally found her full voice. Came out sharp, almost angry. How could we not know this? Because I didn't tell you. Kept my business private. Used LLCs for property ownership. Worked quietly. Built something real without announcing it. But why? Mom's voice cracked. Why wouldn't you tell your family? Would you have believed me? I looked at each of them in turn. 3 hours ago, Emma called me trailer trash. She said I didn't belong in this neighborhood. That I was pretending to fit in. Would any of you have believed me if I'd just announced I was wealthy? No one answered. And more importantly, I continued, why would I share my success with people who spent 30 years telling me I wasn't good enough? Michael cleared his throat. Ms. Anderson, we do need to address the lease renewal. The current lease expires July 15th. That's 28 days from now. I need your decision. I know. Should I prepare renewal documents? I looked at my aunt and uncle. At Emma, who'd called me trailer trash an hour ago. At Chase and Derek and Sophie, who'd laughed. At the family who'd given me a couch because there was no room for me in the 4-bedroom house I owned. Not yet, I said. I need to think about it. You need to think about it? Uncle Greg's voice rose. Tegan, this is our home. We've been here 3 years. We've made plans. You've been here 3 years as tenants. With a lease. That lease is ending. But where will we go? Sophie asked. All our summer plans. I don't know, Sophie. Where would I have gone if you hadn't let me stay on the couch? Emma was crying now. Not delicate tears, full sobbing. This can't be happening. Derek, tell her this can't be happening. Derek looked at me with something like fear in his eyes. Ms. Anderson, Tegan, surely we can work something out. We've been good tenants. Have you? I looked at Michael. What's the record say? He consulted his tablet. 3 late payments. That's a violation of Section 8.2 of the lease agreement. Multiple noise complaints. Violations of Section 12.4. And as of this evening, I personally witnessed verbal harassment of the property owner, which could be considered a violation of the Community Standards Clause. Harassment. Emma's voice went shrill. I didn't know she owned the house. You called her trailer trash and said she didn't belong in this neighborhood, Michael said flatly. That's harassment regardless of property ownership. Aunt Linda was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Anger. All three. You've been our landlord for 3 years, she said slowly. You've been collecting rent from us, watching us live here. And you never said anything. No. Why? Because I wanted to see how you'd treat someone you thought was beneath you. And now I know. Uncle Greg's face had gone from pale to red. This is entrapment. This is cruel. Is it crueler than telling an 18-year-old girl she's not worth helping with college because she's not your biological daughter? Is it crueler than making a 9-year-old sit alone at a birthday party because her friends weren't important enough to include? Is it crueler than 30 years of dismissal and contempt? We gave you a home. Aunt Linda's voice cracked. We raised you after your mother died. We fed you, clothed you, kept a roof over your head. Yes. You did the legal minimum required. You gave me food and shelter. You never gave me family. You never gave me love. You never gave me the same treatment you gave your own children. And when I succeeded despite all that, you couldn't see it because you'd decided who I was 30 years ago and refused to look again. Chase spoke for the first time since the revelation. His voice was quiet. Tegan, I'm so sorry. We've been awful to you. Yes. You have. Can you forgive us? I looked at him. Of all my cousins, Chase had been the least cruel. Not kind but not actively mean. Just indifferent. I don't know yet, Chase. Maybe eventually. But not today. Michael's chin shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Anderson, I do need a decision about the lease. If you're not renewing, I need to give formal notice. I understand. And just so everyone is aware, Michael continued, addressing my family, if the lease is not renewed, you'll need to vacate the property by July 15th. That's 28 days. You'll receive your security deposit back within 30 days of move-out, assuming there's no damage to the property. 28 days, Emma repeated dully. We have to find somewhere to live in 28 days? If Ms. Anderson chooses not to renew, yes. Derek stood up. We should call a lawyer. This feels illegal. It's completely legal, Michael said. Standard lease termination. Month-to-month tenancy after the initial lease term. Either party can terminate with 30 days notice. We're giving 28 days, which is cutting it close but still within legal bounds. Tegan, please. Aunt Linda's voice broke. Please don't do this. This house means everything to us. All our summer memories. Did those memories include being kind to me? Or was I just part of the furniture? Something you tolerated because you had to? She didn't answer. I turned to Michael. I'll have my decision by tomorrow morning. I need tonight to think. Of course, Ms. Anderson. And Michael, thank you for handling this professionally. It's my job, ma'am. He nodded to my family. Good evening, everyone. He left. The sound of his Tesla starting in the driveway was loud in the silence. I looked at my family. I'm going to take a walk on the beach. When I come back, I'd appreciate it if no one tried to talk to me about this tonight. I'll let you know my decision tomorrow. Tegan, Aunt Linda started. Tomorrow. I walked out, leaving them on the deck of the house I owned, surrounded by the shattered remains of their assumptions about who I was and what I was worth. I walked on the beach for 2 hours. The sun set, the stars came out, and I listened to the waves crash against the shore. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from everyone in my family. Emma, please don't do this. I'm so sorry. Please. Chase, can we talk? Just you and me? I want to apologize properly. Sophie, I never meant to hurt you. I'm sorry I laughed. Please let us stay. Aunt Linda, we love you. We've always loved you. Please don't take away our home. Uncle Greg, let's discuss this like adults. What's your price? Name your terms. I didn't respond to any of them. When I returned to the house around 10 p.m., most of the lights were off. I could hear voices in the master bedroom, Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg arguing in harsh whispers. I retrieved my bag from the den and walked to my car. Emma appeared in the doorway. Where are you going? Home. To Seattle? Yes. But it's late. And we need to talk. We'll talk tomorrow. I'll call Michael with my decision and he'll inform you. Tegan, please. He was crying again. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said. I was just being, I don't know, mean, stupid. I'm sorry. Are you sorry you said it? Or sorry you got caught? She didn't have an answer. I drove home to Seattle. Arrived at my condo, a 3-bedroom penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay that I'd purchased for $1.8 million 2 years ago, around 3 a.m. Slept fitfully. Woke up at 7 a.m. and made coffee. By 8 a.m. I'd made my decision. I called Michael Chin. Not renewing the lease. Send the formal notice today. Are you certain? Yes. I'll handle it. And Ms. Anderson? For what it's worth, you're making a reasonable business decision. They've been problematic tenants. Thank you, Michael. One more thing. The security deposit, $14,400. They're entitled to it back unless there's damage. I'll need to do a move-out inspection. Do a thorough inspection. If there's no damage, return the full deposit. I want this done professionally and legally. No shortcuts. Understood. The escalating consequences came over the next week. Aunt Linda called 17 times. I didn't answer. She finally reached me on Thursday. Tegan, we've been looking at rental properties. Everything in Cannon Beach is either already rented for the summer or costs $8,000 to $12,000 per month. We can't afford that. I charge you $4,800, which is below market rate. You've been getting a deal. But we didn't know, we thought. You thought you were dealing with some faceless investor who didn't care. You treated the property accordingly. Late payments, complaints, no respect for the lease terms. We can do better. We'll pay on time. We'll be quieter. Linda, here's the thing. This isn't just about lease violations. This is about 30 years of treating me like I was worthless. This is about calling me trailer trash in a house I own. This is about fundamental respect. And you don't respect me. You never have. That's not true. It is true. And you know it. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, what would it take? To change your mind? I don't know if anything can. Money? We could pay more rent. $6,000 a month. $7,000. It's not about money, Linda. I have more money than you'll ever have. It's about dignity. Then what? What do you want from us? I want you to understand what you did. Really understand. Not just apologize because you got caught. Not just say sorry because you want something from me. But actually understand why what you did was wrong. I understand. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be calling to negotiate. You'd be calling to apologize. Really apologize. Without conditions. She hung up on me. 2 days later, Uncle Greg tried. His approach was different. More businesslike. Tegan, let's set emotions aside and look at this rationally. We have a mutually beneficial arrangement. We need a summer home. You need reliable tenants. We can come to terms. I have 17 applications for the property already. All offering above asking rent. All with perfect rental histories. I don't need you as tenants. But we're family. Are we? Because family usually treats each other better than you've treated me. I'm offering you $8,000 per month. 3-year lease. That's $288,000 over 3 years. You'd be a fool to refuse it. Greg, I made $7.3 million last year. Your $8,000 per month offer represents less than 2% of my annual income. I'm not impressed. He was silent. Then, how did this happen? How did you become so successful and we never knew? Because you never asked. Because you never looked. Because you decided who I was when I was 7 years old, and you never reconsidered. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Greg. You taught me that. The final consequences came 2 weeks later. Michael sent me photos from the move-out inspection. The house was in good condition. Some normal wear and tear, nothing major. He returned the full $14,400 security deposit. My family moved out on July 14th. I wasn't there to see it. But Michael told me later that Emma had cried while packing. That Aunt Linda had kept looking around like she couldn't believe this was really happening. That Uncle Greg had been angry, slamming drawers and muttering about ungrateful relatives. They found a rental house in Lincoln City, about an hour south of Cannon Beach. Much smaller. Much less prestigious. $5,500 per month, which strained their budget. Meanwhile, I released my beach house to a family from California for $7,200 per month. 3-year lease. Perfect rental history. They moved in August 1st and sent me a thank you note saying it was their dream home. The story spread through the extended family. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years called me. Some were supportive. Some thought I was being cruel. My father, who'd been largely absent from my life after my mom died, called me from Arizona. Tegan, I heard what happened. With Linda and Greg. Word travels fast. Are you okay? I'm fine, Dad. Linda says you've been very successful. That you own a lot of property. Yes. I'm proud of you. I almost laughed. Are you? Or are you just impressed because there's money involved? That's not fair. Isn't it? You haven't called me in 3 years, Dad. You didn't call on my birthday. You didn't call when I bought my first property. You didn't call when my business hit $1 million in revenue. But you heard I'm worth $80 million and suddenly you're proud. Tegan. I don't need your pride, Dad. I needed your love when I was 7 and Mom died. I needed your support when I was 10 and struggling in school. I needed you to fight for me when Linda and Greg treated me like a burden. You didn't do any of those things. I couldn't handle it. After your mom died, I couldn't. I know. I understand. But that doesn't change what happened. You left me with people who didn't want me and then you disappeared. You don't get to come back now and claim pride in my success when you had nothing to do with building it. He was quiet for a long time. Finally, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying that. Is there a way forward? I don't know, Dad. Maybe. But not today. 3 months later, I was sitting on the deck of my beach house. The one I'd taken back from my family. It was September. Off-season. The California family wasn't there. I'd blocked out a weekend for myself. Just me, the ocean, and the space to think. My phone rang. Chase. I'd been in limited contact with him. Of all my family members, he'd been the most consistently apologetic. Not just sorry he got caught, actually sorry for how he'd treated me. I answered. Chase. Hey. Are you busy? Just watching the ocean. At the beach house? Yeah. I'm glad you kept it. It's a beautiful property. It is. Listen, I wanted to tell you something. Mom and Dad are talking about selling their Portland house. Downsizing. The beach house rental is too expensive and they're struggling financially. I'm not offering to help, Chase. I know. That's not why I'm calling. I wanted you to know. And I wanted to say that I get it now. Why you did what you did. Why you didn't tell us. Do you? Yeah. We treated you like you were less than us. Like you'd never amount to anything. And when you succeeded anyway, when you succeeded beyond any of us, we couldn't even see it. Because we'd already decided who you were. Yes. That's fucked up. We were fucked up. I was fucked up. Yes. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve it. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see you now. And I'm sorry. I watched a wave crash against the shore. Thank you for saying that, Chase. Do you think, someday, we could try again? Be actual family. Maybe. But it would have to be different. Really different. I know. I want it to be different. I've been in therapy. Working on my own shit. Understanding why I went along with Mom and Dad's favoritism toward Emma. Why I never stood up for you. That's good. Therapy helps. Are you in therapy? 6 years now. Best money I've ever spent. He laughed softly. Better than $180 million in real estate? Way better. The real estate made me wealthy. Therapy made me whole. We talked for another 20 minutes. About his life, his girlfriend, his job. About my business, my plans for the future. About whether healing was possible after so much hurt. Before we hung up, he said, Emma wants to apologize too. She's been too scared to call. She should stay scared a while longer. She has a lot more work to do than you. Fair. But Chase? Maybe in 6 months. If she's done the work. She actually understands. Maybe then. Hey. I'll tell her. After we hung up, I sat on the deck for another hour. My family was broken. Maybe permanently. Maybe not. But I was whole. I'd built something real. Something mine. something that nobody could take away or diminish or dismiss. I'd proven, to myself more than anyone, that their opinions didn't define me. Their treatment didn't limit me. Their inability to see my worth didn't diminish it. I owned a $180 million real estate portfolio. I ran a multi-million-dollar consulting firm. I had financial security that most people could only dream of. But more than that, I had dignity, self-respect, the knowledge that I'd done it all myself without their help despite their obstacles. They called me trailer trash. But I owned the beach house where they'd set it. They told me I didn't belong. But I'd built a life that proved them wrong. And now, sitting on my deck watching the Pacific Ocean stretch endlessly toward the horizon, I finally understood what belonging really meant. It wasn't about their approval. It wasn't about fitting into their definition of success. It wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about knowing, deep in my bones without doubt, that I was enough. That I'd always been enough. That their failure to see it was their limitation, not mine. The sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. I'd bought this house as petty revenge. But I'd keep it as a reminder. Not of their cruelty, but of my strength. Not of what they'd said about me, but of what I'd built despite them. Not of the family I'd lost, but of the person I'd become. I raised my glass of wine to the sunset. To new beginnings. To chosen family. To the truth that success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And I'd done exactly that.